she's quick. Look out for a little thing named Madeline. Top of the day, beautiful people. I'm gonna get YouTube going here. We live. I need that. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. Uncle Nathaniel. How can I see you? You ain't said nothing yet. Fully. Tiffany! Hey girl, hey. Happy Friday. I'm getting YouTube on, y'all. Hold on. Bella didn't want to give up my phone this morning. I let her use it while I was pulling myself together. Coming down, so I was like, oh, I forgot my phone. Because she took it off my stuff, and I forgot to grab it. All right, y'all. Hold on. We live. Let's see, we're good over here. Okay, it's rolling. It's rolling on YouTube. We rolling in both places, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It is October the 29th. Where did this month go? Really? Where did it go? It is October the 29th, 2021, Friday. Day 288 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 956. Today, we reading Psalm, let's see, 42 through, let's do through 47. Right, and then we're going to pick up in Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. Where we left off, still in the introduction, on page 38. And we're going to read it out till we run out of time today. All right, y'all, so let's do the Shema Secret Mashiach. All right, y'all. Levine, hey, girl, hey, blessings. All right, y'all, remember not the blessing, the Shema. Shema Israel, Yahuwah, Eloheinu. All right, y'all. Remember, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all. Close that. Bring y'all back up. Pull this up on over here. Let's see. Psalm 41. I'm sorry, 42. All right. We gotta minimize this screen. All right, y'all. Hold on. Let me plug this in, though. That low on my large. I like my new MacBook, y'all. I ain't charged this thing in days. And it's just now at the halfway point. I don't want it to get too low, so I'm just going to plug it in right now. All right, y'all. Here we go. Psalm chapter 42, for the choir director. It's a psalm of the descendants of Korah. As the deer longs for the streams of water, so I long for you, O Yah. I thirst for Yahuwah, the living God. When can I go and stand before him? Day and night, I only have tears for food, while my enemies continually taunt me, saying, where is this God of yours? My heart is breaking as I remember how it used to be. I walked among the crowds of worshipers, leading to a great procession to the house of Yahuwah, singing for joy and giving thanks amid the sound of a great celebration. Why am I discouraged? Why is my heart so sad? I will put my hope in Yah. I will praise him again, my Savior and my God. Now I am deeply discouraged, but I will remember you. Even from distant Mount Hermon, the source of the Jordan, from the land of Mount Mizar, I hear the tumult of the raging seas as your waves and surging tides sweep over me. But each day, Yahuwah pours his unfailing love upon me, and through each night I sing his songs, praying to Yahuwah who gives me life. O God, my rock, I cry, why have you forgotten me? Why must I wander around in grief, oppressed by my enemies? Their taunts break my bones. They scoff, where is this God of yours? Why am I so discouraged? Why is my heart so sad? I will put my hope in God. I will praise him again, my Savior and my God. Shalom, William. Shalom, shalom. Next chapter, Psalm 43. Declare me innocent, O Yah. Defend me against these ungodly people. Rescue me from these unjust liars, for you are God, my only safe haven. Why have you tossed me aside? Why must I wander around in grief, oppressed by my enemies? Send out your light and your truth. Let them guide me. Let them lead me to your holy mountain, to the place where you live. There I will go to the altar of Yahuwah, to God, the source of all my joy. I will praise you with my harp, O God, my God. Why am I discouraged? Why is my heart so sad? I will put my hope in Yah. I will praise him again, my Savior and my God. Trina, hey girl, hey. Psalm chapter 44. For the choir director, a psalm of the descendants of Korah. O Yahuwah, we have heard it with our own ears. Our ancestors have told us of all you did in their day. In days long ago, you drove out the pagan nations by your power and gave all the land to our ancestors. You crushed their enemies and set our ancestors free. They did not conquer the land with their swords. It was not their own strong arm that gave them victory. It was your right hand and strong arm, and the blinding light from your face that helped them, for you loved them. You are my King and God. You command victories for Israel. Only by your power can we push back our enemies. Only in your name can we trample our foes. I do not trust in my bow. I do not count my sword to save me. You are the one who gives us victory over our enemies. You disgrace those who hate us. Oh Yah, we give glory to you all day long and constantly praise your name. But now you have tossed us aside in dishonor. You no longer lead our armies to battle. You make us retreat from our enemies and allow those who hate us to plunder our land. You have butchered us like sheep and scattered us among the nations. You sold your precious people for a pittance, making nothing on the sale. You let our neighbors mock us. We are an object of scorn and derision to those around us. You have made us the butt of their jokes. They shake their heads at us in scorn. We can't escape the constant humiliation. Shame is written across our faces. All we hear are the taunts of our mockers. All we see are our vengeful enemies. All this has happened, though we have not forgotten you. We have not violated your covenant. Our hearts have not deserted you. We have not strayed from your path. Yet you have crushed us in the jackal's desert home. You have covered us with darkness and death. If we had forgotten the name of our God or spread our hands in prayer to foreign gods, Yahuwah would surely have known it, for he knows the secrets of every heart. But for your sake, we are killed every day. We are being slaughtered like sheep. Wake up, O Yah. Why do you sleep? Get up. Do not reject us forever. Why do you look the other way? Why do you ignore our suffering and oppression? We collapse in the dust, lying face down in the dirt. Rise up. Help us. Ransom us because of your unfailing love. Psalm chapter 45. For the choir director, a love song to be sung to the tune Lilies, a psalm of the descendants of Korah. Beautiful words stir my heart. I will recite a lovely poem about the king, for my tongue is like the pen of a skillful poet. You are the most handsome of all. Gracious words stem from your lips. Yahuwah himself has blessed you forever. Put on your sword, O mighty warrior. You are so glorious, so majestic. In your majesty, ride out to victory, defending truth, humility, and justice. Go forth to perform awe-inspiring deeds. Your arrows... Baby girl, I don't know.
I just set my other candy in here.
Yeah, see, when you set it out there, it's like open season for your brethren.
I just took it.
They probably did.
I just put it in here now.
Yeah, see, what you're going to have to do is hide it in the refrigerator in our room. Now she's going to be in the mood all day because they done went in there eating her little candy. In your majesty, ride out to victory, defending truth, humility, and justice. Go forth to perform awe-inspiring deeds. Your arrows are sharp, piercing your enemies' hearts. The nations fall beneath your feet. Your throne, O Yah, endures forever and ever. You rule with a scepter of justice. You love justice and hate evil. Therefore, Yahuwah, your God, has anointed you, pouring out the oil of joy on you more than on anyone else. Myrrh, aloes, cassia perfume your robes, and ivory places the music of strings entertains you. King's daughters are among your noble women. At your right side stands the queen, wearing jewelry of the finest gold from Ophir. Listen to me, O royal daughter. Take heart to what I say. Forget your people and your family far away, for your royal husband delights in your beauty. Honor him, for he is your Lord. The princess of Tyre will shower you with gifts. The wealthy will beg your favor. The bride, a princess, looks glorious in her golden gown. In her beautiful robes, she is led to the king, accompanied by her bridesmaids. What a joyful and enthusiastic procession as they enter the king's palace. Your sons will become kings like their father. You will make them rulers over many lands. I will bring honor to your name in every generation. Therefore, the nations will praise you forever and ever. Next chapter, Psalm chapter 46. Also for the choir director, a song of the descendants of Korah to be sung by soprano voices. Yahuwah is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. So we will not fear when earthquakes come and the mountains crumble into the sea. Let the oceans roar and foam. Let the mountains tremble as the waters surge. A river brings joy to the city of our God, the sacred home of the Most High. Yahuwah dwells in that city. It cannot be destroyed. From the very break of day, Yahuwah will protect it. The nations are in chaos and their kingdoms crumble. Yahuwah's voice thunders and the earth melts. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. Come, see the glorious works of Yahuwah. See how he brings destruction upon the world. He causes wars to end throughout the earth. He breaks the bow and snaps the spear. He burns the shield with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation. I will be honored throughout the world. Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. Trina, yeah, girl. Oh, I'm surprised I ain't hear one of them hollering yet. She went in and throw something at them while they in there asleep. Trina said, man, I know how she feel. If I let something sit for a few days, Robert assume I don't want it and he eat it. I'd be so mad. Laugh out loud. Last chapter for the day. Psalm chapter 47 is also for the choir director. It's a psalm of the descendants of Korah. Come, everyone, clap your hands. Shout to God with joyful praise. For Yahuwah, the Most High, is awesome. He is the great King of all the earth. He subdues the nations before us, putting our enemies beneath our feet. He chose the promised land as our inheritance, the proud possession of Jacob's descendants, whom he loves. Yahuwah has ascended with a mighty shout. Yahuwah has ascended with trumpets blaring. Sing praises to Yahuwah. Sing praises. Sing praises to our King. Sing praises. For Yahuwah is King over all the earth. Praise him with a psalm. Yahuwah reigns above the nations, sitting on his holy throne. The rulers of the world have gathered together with the people of the God of Abraham, for all the kings of the earth belong to Yah. He is highly honored everywhere. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. Hallelujah. William Wright. Yes. Okay, y'all. So let's hop on over here to Shakespeare's. I was about to say Caesar's. Okay, y'all. Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. We're picking up on page 38. If y'all been here for a while, y'all know what this is. We're still in the introduction, which is an overview of Caesar's Messiah, which we just spent the last couple weeks going through as it was breaking down the New Testament, how it was created, who was created, all the shenanigans behind it, and all the shenanigans that's still flowing from it today. This is the follow-up book to it, Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, which is going into more detail. We haven't gotten to Shakespeare yet. Like I said, we're still in the introduction, but it's going to begin to break down and show you how all of this is connected throughout the generations, how Rome still keeps its hand on everything, even inside the churches, running the churches, right? Not saying that everybody inside the church is being ran by Rome, right? They are truly some children of Yah within the church, right? Shalom, Josiah. There are truly some people of Yah there, right? But a lot of them are still living in la la land and in a bunch of fallacy, right? And truly don't understand. And let me tell you what gets people, I say this all the time, because people really don't understand how the body, the mind, and faith works. They are easily subdued and tricked by some of the things that are going on in the church. Not saying that Yah hasn't been present in some of those things, because he absolutely has for those who are truly crying out to him. But some people can be fooled because of how powerful Yahuwah created these bodies and these minds to be. Even when we think thoughts, if we perceive something, it'll happen like that for us. Like what we think will literally be a self-fulfilling prophecy because of the energy we put behind it, right? Just like example, I use this all the time. You can perceive that you're in trouble, right? And your body will begin to experience the effects of it, right? Adrenaline starts pumping, heart start beating fast. You may even take off running, right? Just depend on the situation where you perceive you're in trouble. If your mind believes it, your mind will conceive it. You will take off running and there'll be nobody there chasing you, right? But your body will get in this mode to where it's believable to you, and your body will go into fight or flight mode, right? Just like somebody can be totally at peace. We perceive things depend on our life's experiences and our understanding. That's how we perceive life, right? And that same principle happens with us in church, right? Some, I'm not going to say all, because all some pastors are quite ignorant to what they're doing. They just have a way with words and know how to manipulate people and their emotions to get them in a certain mode to believe certain things. Being able to believe it's a blessing, right? And it'll help you. And it'll help you in every area of life. Doesn't matter if you're in the church or out of the church. You will worshiping Satan or you're a Buddhist, monk, whatever. It still works. The principle works. It's a universal principle. You can't pin it to a certain religion, right? It's a universal principle that will happen any and everywhere with any and anybody who put it into play, right? That's what you have to understand, and that's what kind of keeps people, because they kind of pigeonhole and pin things to certain religions where they think everything is of God, right? And it's not, right? Not all of those things that they think is of God are necessarily bad either. Some things are good, some things are bad, but they don't realize that the principle will work anywhere in life where you are at, because it's a universal principle. And anybody that puts it into play, it will work for them. If they understood that, a lot of manipulation of people and keeping them within the four walls of the church, within shenanigans. They don't even have to be in the church. They can be out of the church, right? Same shenanigans, right? But if you don't understand that, you're not able to break yourself away from the strong delusion, right? So, which I believe this is a really good book to read, Caesar's Messiah. It helps break up all that fallacy throughout the religion, right? With all the resources and everything, and going through with the follow-up, it kind of helps make sure you're on solid ground. You're able to decipher truth from error, things that were added, things that were, you perceive things that were taken away because of missing things, even when you read through the scriptures. Everything that's within the 66 books is not pure scripture, right? It's been tampered with. But if you don't read it enough, you don't tend to pick those things up, and people can just continue to run amok with your mind and your false beliefs on things that is garbage. All right. So page 49. Oh, that's, hold on. 38. I got it. Nope. I think I wrote it wrong. I wrote it wrong in my book. Okay. I'm sorry. I went back to the beginning page from Wednesday. We're not starting on 38. We're starting on page 49. I'm sorry. Because the title of this little section is called The Demons of Gadara. Remember, we're still doing an overview. A lot of the stuff was broken down in great detail in Caesar's Messiah. All right. In Josephus's Wars 4.7 and 389 through 437, we meet the rebel leader John, who was beginning to tyrannize in the countryside. He attracted a following among the rebels who thought they should be safer themselves if the causes of their past insolent actions should now be reduced to one head and not to a great many. Josephus explained that as it is in a human body, if the principal part be inflamed, all the members are subject to the same distemper. So, by means of the sedition and disorder that was in the metropolis, had the wicked men that were in the country opportunity to ravage the same. Well, let me read that again. Okay. Josephus explained that as it is in a human body, if the principal part be inflamed, all the members are subject to the same distemper. So, by means of the sedition and disorder that was in the metropolis, had the wicked men that were in the country opportunity to ravage the same. Men joined in the conspiracy by parties, too small for an army and too many for a gang of thieves. Nor was there now any part of Judea that was not in a miserable condition, as well as its most eminent city also. Getting word of the threat, Vespasian marched against Gadara. The Jews were quickly surrounded by the Roman forces and, like the wildest of wild beasts, rushed upon the point of others' swords, so some of them were destroyed, and others were dispersed. But Placidus slew all that he overtook as far as Jordan, and when he had driven the whole multitude to the riverside, the number of those that were unwillingly forced to leap into Jordan was prodigious. There were besides 2,200 taken prisoners, a mighty prey taken also, consisting of asses and sheep and camels and oxen. In other words, Josephus is expounding a theory which likens the spread of sedition to a disease in which the distemper of one head infects the multitude, who seek to abandon their free will and responsibility to that one individual. The rebels then become like wild beasts, fit to be destroyed. Elsewhere, Josephus explains his view that demons are no other than the spirits of the wicked. And you can find that in Wars of the Jews 7.6. Why did he put in point? 7.6.85. Oh, okay. In Wars of the Jews 7.6.185. So that by definition, John and his followers may all be seen as demons. So I'm sure y'all remember, if y'all was here for that, they likened the Hebrews, like when they said demons and stuff, they weren't talking about these malignant entities. They were actually talking about human beings, right? So they referred to the Hebrews, or through here they call them Jews, or the Jewish people. The Hebrews, they called them demons, right? And demons they called them wicked. Everything is completely flipped around, right? Okay. In Mark 5, verses 1 through 20, also Luke chapter 8, 26 through 39, Jesus has come to the land of the Gadarenes. He met a man, a demoniac, who was possessed with an unclean spirit, who was always crying and cutting himself with stones. Jesus asked the demoniac, "What is thy name?" The demoniac replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Now there were nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000, and they were choked in the sea. The demoniac was healed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him. The version of the story in Matthew chapter 8, verses 28 through 33, has Jesus meet two demon-possessed men who accuse Jesus of tormenting us before the time. There are several peculiar and enigmatic aspects to this periscope. Why should one man be possessed by a legion of demons? Why are swine being herded in such huge numbers? Why are Why are swine being herded in such huge numbers where pork is taboo? Why does Matthew mention two demoniacs where Mark and Luke see only one? The enigma is solved by realizing that Josephus's John is an antitype to the demoniac. Just as the biblical Jesus meets a man who was possessed by demons who are sent into the wild beasts and destroyed, so also John is like a demon who infects a multitude of Jewish radicals, and they become like animals to be destroyed. Within this conceptual framework, there are many specific verbal parallels. The location near Gadara, at least according to some early manuscripts, the size of the parties are too small for an army and too large for a gang of thieves, which is a good definition of the size of a legion. Wild beasts rushing, Jewish rebels like the swine forced into the sea, and the number about 2,000, or in Josephus to be exact, 2,200. Although oddly, the 2,000 biblical swine are destroyed, while the 2,200 rebels in Josephus are captured. In Josephus, the Romans also capture a mighty prey of livestock, but no swine, presumably because the swine had been drowned. Atwill suggests that perhaps the second demoniac in Matthew's version represents John's brother Simon, Peter, and that they are being tormented before the time because the time of their torment belongs later in the typological sequence. Later on, John and Simon are caught coming out of the tombs like the demoniac, where they have been cut by stones in tight quarters like the demoniac. Then John was sent to Rome, where he presumably published the Gospel of John, just as the biblical demon took the opportunity to publish in Decapolis. Next section, destruction of Jerusalem, prophecy and fulfillment. This set of parallels has been universally acclaimed since the early days of Christianity, so there should be no controversy that these are real parallels. Basically, the scheme is that Matthew's Jesus launches into a series of prophecies of destruction of Jerusalem. The prophecies are fulfilled in Josephus's Wars of the Jews 6.5 and a few other scattered passages will be noted below. The devoutly Orthodox Catholic explanation for this, of course, is that Jesus' prophecies were fulfilled in history exactly as it unfolded and as Josephus accurately reported. Unfortunately, the logic of this interpretation leads to the conclusion that Titus is the second coming of the Son of Man, an unpalatable conclusion which can be rather awkwardly finessed but not really avoided by viewing Titus as a passive instrument of God's wrath and moving quickly on to the prophecies of Revelation, where the true coming of Jesus in power and glory might be arguably deferred to the infinite future. If there are any Orthodox Catholics or other fundamentalists reading this, I can only ask them to consider whether Atwill's explanation makes more sense overall. Yo, and this is one thing, I don't know if y'all caught that. He said, I'll read this again. That's a whole long sentence. It's talking about the deferring the coming of Jesus indefinitely, right? So it's always, if you look at, even when I was growing up, right, I just remember even being a part of this little group me and my sisters and my cousins were a part of, who was called the Jesus Street Corner University. You know how you have vacation Bible school and stuff? That's kind of like what it was, but it was during the whole summer, like every summer, right? It was like the group of kids from the church, and not just the church, but we would gather ones from like the neighborhood. And one of the guys that was running it, he even had us little t-shirts made, right? This was like in the 80s, right? And knowing, I still remember it. It was like this red brick wall, and then on the top of it had Jesus Street Corner University, right? And so we would just go through like the neighborhood, you know, doing different things, helping different people. We would go to like different places and sing to the elder. You know, it wasn't anything bad. It was something to keep us busy during the summer, right? But I never forget, Mr. Theo, that's his name. He used to always say, I believe Jesus is going to come back in y'all generation. Y'all going to be the generation that see Jesus come back, right? I'm like, and for some reason that just stuck with me, right? But as I go through the years and I think about all these different things, and I think about all the different years that's passed and how it's really been more than 2,000 years forever, because every time you hear about it, even if you go back in time and like the 80s and stuff, why hasn't it changed to 3,000 years? It's always like this has happened over 2,000 years ago, right? Granted, it ain't been a big chunk of years, you know, from the time I was a little girl, but even in some of the previous years and some of the older things that I was reading, even some of the older books, why are they always using like this mark 2000? So all these things I'd be thinking about, I'm like, wait, they was waiting for Jesus to come back all the way back then? So what? And I'm all of these things I'm curious about, and I'm kind of holding within, but thinking about it, I'm like, something's not adding up, right? Because the way all this is done, the way the New Testament was created and all the propaganda, remember, it was all created to what? To what? It was to diffuse the Hebrews, right? Because they were always fighting against Rome. Rome was trying to subdue the entire world. He said Rome essential was like, if we can't beat them, we got to join them. And what did they do? They took their manuscripts and they rewrote them, repurposed them, took the fight out of it, and gave it back to the people and pacified them and made them become pansies. I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, Jesus gonna come back and fight for us. I'm like, well, first of all, y'all gave us this earth, right? He gave us the earth. Everything that's gonna happen, not saying there is not divine intervention that happens here, because it absolutely does, but get what I'm saying, right? But if you're giving up your rights to the things that belong to you, What kind of fight? Like, what kind of fight do you really have? Who can really come stand behind you if you just giving oh no, you come in, just take my house, everything, get it. I'm gonna just sit outside and I'm gonna wait for Jesus to come put me in another house. I'm like, what? What sense does that make? Right? That's exactly what's happening. Oh, you smack one cheek, let me give you the other one to smack too. What? Absolutely not. And I ain't giving you my cloak to go the extra mile either. So, not saying this, keeping everything in its proper context, not saying that you shouldn't, look out for people and be nice and different things. That's not what I'm saying. But the purpose of them doing this, it was to subdue them so that they could rule over them. And as they began to do that, they began to take everything that they owned, right? They began to willingly, because they were fooled. Remember, if the mind perceives something, it believes it's true, it's going to act in accordance to it. Even your body is designed to follow what your mind puts out to it, right? It's going to line up to what you believe and what you perceive, right? So it's the same thing, right? It's the same exact thing. And he said right here, this is what I wanted to reread. Let me just reread the whole sentence. Sit up, Sudi. Me and my mom. He said, unfortunately, let me just read these last two sentences. The devoutly Orthodox Catholic explanation of this, of course, is that Jesus's prophecies were fulfilled in history exactly as it unfolded and as Josephus accurately reported. Unfortunately, the logic of this interpretation leads to the conclusion that Titus is the second coming of the Son of Man, an unpalatable conclusion which can be rather awkwardly finessed but not really avoided by viewing Titus as a passive instrument of God's wrath and moving quickly on to the prophecies of Revelation, where the true coming of Jesus in power and glory might be arguably, and here it is, deferred to the infinite future, right? So, hey, Auntie. So in church, you will see, if you go from church to church, church to church, what happens is, and I notice this, and it really, at this point, it really makes me want to throw up. Mom. It really does, because, yes, baby.
Auntie in here?
Auntie, I don't see it. Oh, yeah, Aunt Nene, she over here on Facebook. But it really, it's still that same principle that's happening, that's keeping you not doing anything to fight back against the status quo or against the tyranny that's being lorded over you in a more deceptive way now, right? Bella, stop. Sit back. Not saying that you should, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? It's still pacifying and keeping a lot of people completely asleep, where they're not even using their own brains to think. It's like they're just going with it. Yep, Jesus is coming soon. He's going to rescue us from all this tyranny going on. We just keep on just doing what you need to do. Don't mess with nobody. Give them your coat. Let them take your house too. I'm like, not on my watch. Not on my watch, right? And so I'm like, y'all are not understanding what's happening. Okay, Tootie, stop. Every time I think about it, it's guys, it's a whole industry, not just the Christian religion and all the foolishness that goes along with that. And mind you, it's some good, well-meaning people there that just truly don't understand, right? But there is a whole industry that's created, a whole business industry that has been created. Bella, I'm gonna put you on the floor. That plays on this alone, right? And it's like those, you ever see, it's like survival channels and apocalypse channels and stuff like that. It's always keeping their adrenaline pumping, like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do this. Not saying that you shouldn't be prepared for things and prepare for worst case scenarios, but it keeps you in a state, it always keep your adrenaline going. And that's not healthy. The body wasn't created to constantly pump adrenaline at its highest levels. It's going to wear you out. It's going to kill you, right? But that's what happens. Oh, we got to get this, and Jesus coming. So, oh, this prophecy. Oh my gosh, and the earthquakes. Did you see them? The ring of fire. All these different things, and the media that's constantly pushing a lot of this stuff, and people taking it. It's like you got the end of the world channels and stuff. If you constantly filling yourself with that, you are going to be a friggin' nutcase. I know from personal experience of being one of them people. When you break yourself away from that and regain your sanity back, it's like, wait a minute, what have I been doing? Because I began to look at different people and their just different outlooks and where they walk in life. And I visited different places all around the world. It's really only places that's really, stop Bella, that's really steeped into the church and church doctrine where their mindsets are like that. And it's like they're all over the place all the time. And most of them really can't get anything established in life because they're ready to give up everything for the cause of going to heaven. And all of that is tail backwards, right? Remember, Yahuwah said the righteous inherit the earth. This is the inheritance here on the earth. The righteous inherit the earth, and the wicked are rooted out, right? So the righteous are living like they're going to be swooped up here and going to heaven, and the wicked is taking over the world. No, the wicked is taking over the world because the righteous is giving up their home, right? And I'm just like, I do want to just wake up. Wake up. Okay. Read the sentence again.
Mom, what you got?
My book. The devoutly Orthodox
Mom.
Catholic explanation of this, of
Got
course,
6 left.
is that Jesus' prophecies were fulfilled in history exactly as it unfolded and as Josephus accurately reported. Unfortunately, the logic of this interpretation leads to the conclusion that Titus is the second coming of the Son of Man, an unpalatable conclusion which can be rather awkwardly finessed, but not really avoided by viewing Titus as a passive instrument of God's wrath and moving quickly on to the prophecies of Revelation, where the true coming of Jesus in power and glory might be arguably deferred to the infinite future. If there are any Orthodox Catholics or other fundamentalists reading this, I can only ask them to consider whether Atwill's explanation makes more sense overall. Bella, you have to get down because I got this stuff sitting right here and it's about to fall. You gotta get down. I'll call you back when I'm done so you can end it. I'm almost done. We only got a few more minutes. Or more than just a few. About 20 minutes.
Mom?
Yes.
Why are you ready to make some coffee?
That's not coffee, that's hot apple cider.
For kids.
Yeah, kids can drink it. Liberal religious scholars prefer the explanation that the New Testament authors borrowed their quotes verbatim from Josephus. It should be mentioned at this juncture that Josephus and the Jewish wars argued that all of the events that transpired were in accordance with the arcane prophecies of the book of Daniel. As Josephus stated, quote, "And indeed it so came to pass that our nation suffered these things unto Antiochus Epiphanes, according to Daniel's vision, and what he wrote many years before they came to pass. In the very same manner, Daniel also wrote concerning the Romans' government, and that our country should be made desolate by them. All these things did this man leave in writing, as God had showed them to him." End quote. That's Antiquities 10.11, pages 276 through page 277. And as Atwill explained, this led to some chronological claims by Josephus that seem suspect, to say the least. Quote, "Josephus's recording of the perfect alignment of events in the time sequences Daniel predicted is either his witnessing of supernatural phenomena or a deliberate falsification. Currently, there is contention among scholars regarding virtually all of the chronology Josephus gives in Wars of the Jews. For example, Josephus gives a later date than Suetonius and Dio for when Vespasian began to prepare for the civil war in Rome that led to his becoming emperor. It is probable that Josephus did this to provide support for the Flavian claim that Vespasian was not anxious to become emperor. This shaping of time by Josephus to create Flavian propaganda is exactly the same technique he used to create the alignment between the Flavian campaign in Judea and the prophecies of Daniel, reference 3:14, end quote. Jesus, of course, endorses the same prophet Daniel, as well as implicitly the exact same jiggered interpretation of Daniel's ambiguous prophecy as Josephus devised. Quote, and then the end will come. When you have seen, to use the language of the prophet Daniel, the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, let the reader observe these words. Then let those who are in Judea escape to the hills. End quote. And that's Matthew chapter 24, verses 14 through 16. It is hard to escape the conclusion that Josephus and the New Testament authors conspired together to achieve this synchrony, or at least that Josephus was working from some independent source of the Christian narrative, and that he labored to comply with this chronology and its interpretation of Daniel. If the New Testament authors copied their timeline from Josephus, there would have been no need for Josephus to tamper with real historical events. Hey, Mom. Even more convincingly, to accept the conventional explanation that the New Testament copied Josephus requires a severely impaired sense of humor, as I will explain. Jesus begins his prophesying in Matthew with this curse, quote, upon you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly, I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. End quote. And that's Matthew 23, verses 34 through 36. The scenario Jesus foresees does indeed begin to unfold exactly one generation or 40 years later. Jesus invokes the memory of Abel and Zechariah, son of Berechiah, who are both well-known Old Testament characters who were ignored or mistreated by their contemporaries. Somehow, Josephus doesn't seem to have gotten the memo that Jesus was talking about history, not prophecy, and in due course, we find that Zacharias amusingly meets his fate again in the temple, exactly as Jesus described. It comes as a humorous surprise to find history repeating itself as precisely as this. Quote, these zealots and Idumeans were quite weary of barely killing men, so they had the impudence of setting up fictitious tribunals and judicatures for that purpose. And they intended to have Zacharias, son of Baruch, one of the most eminent of the citizens, slain. Now the 70 judges brought in their verdict that the person accused was not guilty. Hereupon there arose a great clamor of the zealots upon his acquittal. So 2 of the boldest of them fell upon Zacharias in the middle of the temple and slew him. End quote. And that's in Wars of the Jews 4.5, pages 338 through 344. Surely Josephus knew his Old Testament well enough that we can be confident that this joke was no accident. After this, the prophecies and their fulfillment unfold smoothly enough, although the sequential order between Jesus and Josephus is not unbroken. Jesus, quote, the disciples said, what will be the sign of your coming and the close of the age? Take care that no one misleads you, answered Jesus. Many false prophets will rise up and lead multitudes astray. End quote. That's Matthew 24, verses 3 through 5. Josephus, quote, the great distress the Jews were in upon the conflagration of the holy house concerning a false prophet and the signs that preceded this destruction. End quote. That's Wars of the Jews, heading to book 6, chapter 5. Jesus, quote, for then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world, and assuredly never will be again. End quote. That's Matthew 24, verse 21. Josephus, quote, "The misfortunes of all men from the beginning of the world, if they be compared to these of the Jews, are not so considerable as they were." End quote. And this Wars is found in the preface, line 12. Jesus. Y'all gonna know what's quoted. When I say Jesus, he about to say, I'm gonna stop saying quote and end quote. Just know now. After I say their name, this is what they said and where it's found. Jesus. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Matthew 24, verse 7. Josephus. Many were worn away by famine. Moreover, the priests felt a quaking and heard a great noise. Wars 6.5.274, page 299. Jesus. Then let those who are in Judea escape to the hills. Let him who is on the roof not go down to fetch what is in his house, nor let him who is outside the city stay to pick up his outer garment. Matthew 24, 16 through 18. Josephus. The multitude also that was in the city joined in this outcry with those that were upon the hill, and now the Romans, judging that it was in vain to spare what was round about the holy house, burnt all those places. They also burnt down the treasury chambers, in which was an immense quantity of money and an immense number of garments. Wars 6.5.274, pages 281 through 282. Jesus. And alas, for the women who at that time are with child or have infants. Matthew 24:19. Josephus. There was a certain woman that dwelt beyond Jordan. Her name was Mary. Snatching up her son, who was a child, sucking at her breast, she said, "O thou miserable infant." As soon as she said this, she slew her son and then roasted him and ate one half of him.
Mom, you put pans in here.
I did. I set them in there for the moment just to get them out of the way because I put the crock pot down there. Wars 6.3, page 201 to page 208. Jesus. Immediately after those times of distress, the sun will be dark and the moon will not shed her light. The stars will fall from the firmament. That's Matthew 24:29. Josephus. Thus there was a star resembling a sword which stood over the city, and a comet that continued a whole year. War 6.5, page 289. Jesus. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in the sky, and then will all the nations of the earth lament when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds in the sky with great power and glory. Matthew 24:30. Josephus. Yes, babe. Put it on the counter. I'll fix it in a minute. Hold on. Okay. Josephus. A certain prodigious and incredible phenomena appeared. I suppose the account of it would seem to be a fable were it not related by those that saw it, and were not the events that followed it of so considerable a nature as to deserve such signals. For before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running about among the clouds and surrounding of cities. Wars 6.5, page 297 to page 299. Okay, so now it's going into the next section, the woe saying Jesus. And we almost done, y'all, because we're going to have to end this. And it's still going back and forth with Jesus and Josephus. It's giving a little bit more this time with the he's going to explain some of these the different things that they said. And I think I'm going to stop on page 60. Okay. Oh, who yet? Yeah, it's Friday. If it was tomorrow, I would have finished the introduction. So we'll actually finish the introduction tomorrow. But I'm going to stop at page 60 at the end of this little section. The woe saying Jesus. W-O-E saying, like woe is me. The woe saying Jesus. Immediately after having described all of these amazing signs from the heavens and great holocaust of conflagration and slaughter. No ma'am. Get down.
Mom, I'm cooking
No, you don't cut the stove on. Just 1 second. Hold on, y'all. So this girl, she thinks she grown. You is one shalom. Hold on. Yeah, get out. Hop down. There you go. All right, I'll keep an eye on it. Some things I can let fly. Some things I can't. We need a house to live in. You ain't about to burn down my house. I guess that when you let the kids cook with you, they think, oh, I can go do this on my own. That's one of the... okay. You can't cook by yourself too, baby. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Immediately after having described all of these amazing signs from the heavens and great holocaust of conflagration and slaughter, Josephus gives us a signal that his sense of humor is undaunted by the disaster. Excuse me. Ma'am, stop. I wasn't playing. You see me laughing? Put it down. Thank you. Quote, but what is still more terrible, there was one Jesus, the son of Annas. Hurry up and put it in there. And when you're done, throw it away. I didn't get it this time because she poured it in her bowl. Girls. But what is still more terrible, there was one Jesus, the son of Annas, a plebeian and a husbandman. End quote. And that's War 6.5.300. In what possible way could this Jesus, son of Annas, be still more terrible than everything that has happened to this point in the destruction of Jerusalem? Josephus goes on to explain that this Jesus is nothing worse than a self-righteous big mouth with a strange and repetitive message. That might be a title for today because I just like it. Quote, for 4 years before the war began, and at a time when the city was in very great peace and prosperity, came to the feast whereupon it is our custom for everyone to make tabernacles to God, and the temple began on a sudden to cry aloud. A voice from the east, a voice from the west, a voice from the four winds, a voice against Jerusalem and the holy house, a voice against the bridegrooms and the brides, and a voice against this whole people. This was his cry as he went about by day and by night in all the lanes of the city. And that's found in Wars 6.5, pages 300 through 301. Why does this Jesus sound so much like biblical Jesus? Quote, arriving at Jerusalem at the time of the Passover feast, his disciples came and called his attention to the temple buildings. You see all these? He replied. In solemn truth, I tell you that there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be pulled down. End quote. Matthew 24, verses 1 through 2. For just as the lightning flashes in the east and is seen to the very west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24 and 27. The kingdom of the heavens can be found to be like 10 bridesmaids who took their torches and went out to meet the bridegroom and the bride. End quote. And that's Matthew 25, verse 1. Josephus continues to regale us with the saga of Jesus ben Annas thusly, quote, however, certain of the most eminent among the populace had great indignation at this dire cry of his, and took up the man and gave him a great number of severe stripes, yet did not he either say anything for himself or anything peculiar to those that chastised him, but still went on with the same words which he cried before. Hereupon our rulers, supposing, as the case proved to be, that this was a sort of divine fury in the man, brought him to the Roman procurator, where he was whipped till his bones were laid bare. Yet he did not make any supplication for himself, nor shed any tears, but turning his voice to the most lamentable tone possible, at every stroke of the whip, his answer was, "Woe, woe to Jerusalem." End quote. And that's Wars of the Jews, 6.5, pages 302 through 304. Jesus ben Annas' fate seemed to be unfolding in a remarkably similar way to the biblical Jesus of Nazareth. The indignation of the Jews, the beatings and chastisement, the trip to the Roman procurator, I keep saying it wrong, procurator, and the unresponsiveness to interrogation. Moreover, his repetitive curse, "Woe, woe to Jerusalem," clearly echoes Luke 11, verses 43 through 52, where Jesus calls down, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites," repeating the curse 5 times, extending it to lawyers, and giving 5 different weighty justifications. In the synoptically parallel passage in Matthew 23, verses 13 through 33, the curse, "Woe to you," is repeated 8 times, again with 8 different explanations. However, unlike biblical Jesus, who was, of course, crucified, this Jesus ben Annas gets off with a warning. Although, like biblical Jesus, he is derisively referred to as a madman. See Mark chapter 3, verse 21, and John chapter 7, verse 20. Quote, "And when Albinus, for he was then our procurator, asked him who he was, and whence he came, and why he uttered such words, he made no manner of reply to what he said, but still did not leave." Bella, I hear you. Get down. It's not done.
I saw a fly in my food.
Girl, get down. "And why he uttered such words, he made no manner of reply to what he said, but still did not leave off his melancholy ditty till Albinus took him to be a madman and dismissed him." End quote. That's Wars of the Jews, 6.5, page 305. Nevertheless, Jesus ben Annas ultimately meets his demise during the Passover season, comically in the exact same moment as he prophesies his own doom. Quote, "He continued this ditty for 7 years and 5 months without growing hoarse or being tired therewith, until the very time that he saw his presage in earnest fulfilled in our siege, when it ceased. For as he was going round about upon the wall, he cried out with his utmost force, Woe, woe to the city again, and to the people, and to the holy house. And just as he added the last, Woe, woe to myself also, there came a stone out of one of the engines and smote him and killed him immediately. And as he was uttering the very same presages, he gave up the ghost." End quote. That's Wars of the Jews, 6.5, page 308 through 309. No, you can't come with us today because we got to go to a couple meetings, Pooh. You can't go with us inside the meetings today. If we was just going to the warehouse to do some work, that's fine. But you can't go with us today, okay? Biblical Jesus also mentioned the phenomena of being crushed by stones. Quote, "Have you never read in the scriptures, said Jesus, the stone which the builders rejected has been made the cornerstone? This cornerstone came from the Lord and is wonderful in our eyes. That, I tell you, is the reason why the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a nation that will exhibit the power of it. He who falls on this stone will be severely hurt, but he on whom it falls will be utterly crushed."
I'll get back.
End quote.
Son asked me for this laptop.
No, that was found in Matthew 21, verses 42 through 44. And also, quote, "And some of the Pharisees called to him from the crowd, Teacher, rebuke your disciples. But he answered and said to them, I tell you that if these should keep silent, the stones would immediately cry out. and that's Luke 19:39 through 40. But ironically, according to Josephus, when the stones came, it was Jesus ben Annas who was utterly crushed, thus making a mockery of Jesus' prophecy. And furthermore, when the Jews cried out the coming of this, And furthermore, when the Jews cried out the coming of the stones, it was not the stones themselves they proclaimed, but rather they said, the Son cometh, that is the Son of Man, that is Titus. So remember in the New Testament where it says the Son cometh, there was a whole section on that, right? Where it said the Son cometh, it wasn't Son that was originally there. They changed that. Like I said, it was a whole section dedicated to just that alone, and how it goes back to the original where it never said Son, it said the stone. They were actually warning the people because they had these contraptions like catapults. There were watches that were sitting on watchtowers. Bella, wait, stop it. There were watches who were sitting on watchtowers, supposed to be alerting the people. They were standing watch like military watches. You let people know, hey, get ready, the enemy is coming. When they saw the stone coming, remember, because the stones were white, and as they came, they saw it coming, and they cried out, the stone cometh, the stone cometh, not the Son cometh. Like the New Testament changes that, right? It's the stone cometh. That was a warning to let the people know, get out the way, Titus is coming. They're about to invade our city, right? Titus was behind all of that, right? Titus was coming, or the stone is coming. They're coming to break down these walls, right? And when they realized that they could see the white stones as they were coming, they got a bit more smart, and they painted them black. For some reason, when they painted them black, when they shot them, they weren't, so it seems weird, but they weren't really able to see it. Or maybe I got the colors mixed. Maybe it was the black stone that they saw, and that when they painted them white, they couldn't see those coming, and that's how. But I got to go back and double check. The stones were black and white. It was either white first, and then they painted it black, or it was black first, and then they painted it white, right? So, okay. But if you were here for that, you should remember that section when we were talking about this, the Son cometh, and it wasn't really the Son that cometh. They were crying out, the stone cometh, get out the way, right? Let me see. But ironically, according to Josephus, when the stones came, it was Jesus ben Annas who was utterly crushed, thus making a mockery of Jesus' prophecy. And furthermore, when the Jews cried out the coming of the stones, it was not the stones themselves that they proclaimed, but rather they said, the Son cometh, that is, the Son of Man, that is, Titus. Quote, now the stones that were cast were of the weight of a talent, and were carried 2 furlongs and further. The blow they gave was no way to be sustained, according to the watchmen that sat upon the towers, gave them notice when the engine was let go, and the stone came from it, and cried out aloud in their own country's language, the Son cometh. Wars of the Jews 5.6, page 269 through 274. See 1915 Dent translation. It might be objected that perhaps Josephus is lampooning Jewish prophetic voices in general, or the rebels' messianic dreams and pretensions more particularly. But given all the detail in this portrayal of the woe-saying madman Jesus, in my opinion, Josephus could not possibly have made it any more clear that this Jesus ben Annas is a parody of biblical Jesus. Moreover, time has proven that Josephus was exactly correct in his own prophecy that Jesus would become a more terrible calamity for the Jews than anything that happened in the war, by inspiring generations of anti-Semitism. This is a clue that Josephus knew the Gospels were imperial propaganda. Although, as both biblical Jesus and Josephus assure us, our individual fates are in our own hands. Jesus quoted, those who stand firm to the end shall be saved, end quote, and that's Matthew 24, verse 13. Josephus stated, now if anyone consider these things, he will find that God takes care of mankind, and by all ways possible foreshows to our race what is for their preservation but that men perish by those miseries which they madly and voluntarily bring upon themselves, end quote. And it's Wars 6.5, page 310. And it's kind of like exactly what I was explaining today about understanding how the mind works and what you perceive. Like you literally create your own world by how you think and how you perceive life. Think about it. People who always catch the bad end of the stick, that have that attitude, oh my gosh, I can't catch a break. Things go from bad to worse. Oh my gosh, it's always happening to me. I know a couple people like that. I'm like, I always hear you saying it's like they're self-fulfilling prophecies. They literally have what they say and don't understand that they are the culprit of everything that's happening to them. If they always think something happened bad, they always catch the bad end of the stick. Their car is always being crashed or repossessed, all kinds of getting fired from jobs you just can't see. I'm like, it's a curse following your life, but technically it is. You are cursing your own self, right? Now, I've always been of the mindset that good things are going to happen. I always have a positive outlook on everything, and I always give people benefit of the doubt. Even if you know what, I know you was wrong, but I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself without embarrassing you. Okay, let's see if you got the common sense to correct your mistake while I'm giving you another chance, right? But my outlook on things is good. That's what my grandma used to say something before she passed away for years. She used to say, Pam, you got that stupid kind of faith. And she said not to be, but she's like, sometimes your faith and what you believe for like awes me because you get what you want. And it's just like, because my outlook, I'm going to get that, right? Or this is this. And when you set your mind towards those things, your actions begin to line up to allow opportunity for those things to come to you, to find you, and to bless your life with. It's the exact same way with those people who have a negative outlook on life, always got attitudes. If evil can come and find you, it's going to find you. Evil has taken up residence. Calamity has taken up residence in your home. If that's the way you speak, if that's the way you think, these minds are powerful. If you change the way you think, you literally can change your life. Better leave that alone. So, but that's our reading for today, people. We're pausing right here at the end of this paragraph. And I got to get moving. The baby's trying to finish cooking her stuff. And I can't let that happen. Right? At least not right now. It's not burning. All right, beautiful people. So it is Friday, October the 29th, 2021, day 288 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 956. We read Psalm chapter 42 through 47. And we read Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. We're still in the introduction, read page 49 through 60. We will be finishing the introduction tomorrow, the last 5 pages, because it's 65 pages in the introduction. And we'll move into chapter 1, probably on Sunday. All right, y'all. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do the blessing real quick. I think I saw a question. Give me a second. Let's do the blessing. I'll look at what the question was before I get out of here, because I can't spend too much time. We got stuff we got to get done. I got to be leaving out of here. I got to go change and everything. Blessing. It's found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 20 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right. Hold on, Sodi. Let's see.
Mommy, would you help me cook my food? Mom.
Yes. Yahuwah. Okay. There was a question. Yahuwah is one. Can we ask, is the Old Testament full of errors also? Yes. The simple answer, yes, it is. if you do enough reading and studying and following up on some of the things that will leave questions in your mind, and you go searching those things out, you'll realize that yes, it has been tampered with as well. But there's a way to weed out the truth from error. You just have to read it and study it enough. And a lot of those things, I ain't gonna say a lot of them, some I don't know everything, but at least the things that I've come across and I've been able to pinpoint, even just by it, my simple just reading through and becoming familiar with the text, like becoming really familiar with the story and its characters and its history and stuff, I began to be like, wait a minute, hold on. Well, I thought you said it begins to resonate, and you begin to recall different things. And you're like, wait a minute, okay, so something not right. We missing something, because such and such was married to such and such, right? But they got married over here, and these were their children. But this said this, and that was their son. And how? Wait a minute, hold on. I'm missing something. Is there a child that was had by somebody else? It's like those type of things. So when you read it enough, you begin to see all of these things. You begin to see the contradictions, right? So yes, but simply answered, yes, it is also full of errors. The entire book. Like some people say that this is the complete word of God. It's not. I get that, and I so wish that was true, but it's not. But yes, to answer your question without elaborating anymore, yes, it is. But there's still truth there. I wouldn't. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there is truth there. You still can grow, right? Yahuwah will lead you and guide you if you allow him to go through it. Okay, so my mama said we gotta end this. I'll see y'all tomorrow, bright and early. Say